This Neewer FS300C seems to check off all the boxes on paper, and at less than half the price of its direct competitors, it starts to look like a no-brainer. 300 watts of power, full RGB color, magenta green tint adjustments, and a silent fan with an included carry bag. What's not to love? But after testing the ins and outs of this Neewer light for this past month, I noticed that they did cut quite a few corners, and I'm going to share them here with you guys. So in this video, we'll go over some of my deal breakers, as well as the unique features that are specific to this light, to see if it ends up in your kit. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC. Welcome to my studio. And what we've got here is the Neewer FS300C. Now, Neewer did reach out to me to review this light and they did send it to me for free, but I've also been using Neewer products since like 2016 or 2017. I went back through my Amazon carts and I realized that I had some products from them for 8+ years ago. So thank you for reaching out, and I'm more than happy to give this guy a gander and see what we can come up with. Now, that might play a little bit into my bias with my experience with the brand, but I definitely found some things about this light that I don't like, and I will get into those. Very first, at its core, it's a 300 watt light, and it's less than half the price of its competitors, or at least half the price of the aperture lights. It can still do quite a bit of stuff. I think one of the most important parts when we're budgeting out a kit, when we realize, okay, how much do I have to spend? Where do I want to spend it? Well, the most important thing is to realize, will it get the story done? A 300 watt light is a 300 watt light. The shortcomings of this light are definitely not in its output or in its feature set, because I do think that it has some features that its competitors don't even come close to. And one of my favorite features is the green and magenta tint. Oftentimes when I'm working with LED lights, I'll be working with either multiple different branded lights, or I'll be working with some of the daytime running lights that are in the house or wherever it is that I'm shooting. And I'm trying to match the color temperature of the incandescence or the fluorescence or the sunlight to my flashlight to try to make it look a little bit more consistent. The thing is, most of the bicolor lights that we see have only a orange to blue shift. And the green magenta tint kind of is up to chance, and you're like, hey, it's a little bit green, I'm gonna have to fix that in post. But now with a light like this one, we get to change those things individually, and we get to add a little bit of a green tint or a magenta tint to match the color of the lights, especially when you have different branded lights. If you have different branded lights, then you shouldn't care about the app, but there is also a app included with this light that lets you change the output, the effects, all of those things straight through the app, but I'm just not that type of person for the most part. I don't like relinking my app on the phone, and it's just easier to either walk up to it or hire an assistant to walk up to it for me. Now, the Neewer light does come with its own carry bag with some soft foam inside of it, so it does help you travel and carry it around from place to place. But, you know, those zippers definitely aren't YKK like some of my favorite brands here on YouTube, and they don't have as much confidence in the bag itself. I've had it for like a month. Those little dividers are already starting to mold and move, and I've taken it in and out of that case maybe like half a dozen times. So it's not necessarily the best bag, but it is very nice to have, especially at this price point. It's not something I was expecting. I've paid a lot more for a lot less. This is a 300 watt light with 27,000 lux and up to 36,000 with the included reflector. That bicolor mode with a magenta green tint definitely helps in many of those situations, but it also has Rosco and Lee gels integration, as well as a color wheel to select the exact color that you want to get. It's also pretty damn consistent when it comes to shooting for a long period of time. Now, am I saying that there's no better lights on the market? No, of course not. There are some things in here that I really think that they cut some corners on. One of them being just the all plastic construction. The tripod collar is metal, and so is the full Bowens mount that's in front, which is a very nice feature, but we still have quite a bit of plastic all around it. That just means that once you're going in and out of places, once you're taking down, tearing down, setting up, tearing down, setting up, for 10 years, the motherboards, the soldering that are going on inside might get banged up, and you might end up losing some of that power or even just having a huge paperweight in the first place. There is a very silent shooting mode, and the fan really only kicks on when it absolutely needs to. You can also turn that fan even lower if you don't want to hear it even at all. But to be honest, as a longevity perspective, I think that is not really a good thing. I want the light to perform optimally for as long as possible. And if it's going to overheat itself just because it wants to make a little bit less noise, it's probably going to be to its own detriment, in my opinion, at least in the long run. It's hard to tell after just using it for a month, because right now, obviously, it's still totally fine, but maybe over time, it will degrade. One of the reasons that the most expensive lights literally only do white is because they can do that consistently, and they can make it accurate for a very, very long time. Once you start adding a whole bunch more features, a whole bunch more bells and whistles, that's when a few of those things may end up breaking or may end up stop working. It's just getting a little bit more complicated for the actual internals. When it comes to the actual build of itself, the wheels itself are full 360 stepless turning. It's kind of neat. Also, I wouldn't mind having those little clicks to know exactly like, okay, this is +1, +2, +3, +4, but that's a little minor issue. The buttons themselves here in the middle, very, very spongy, but I don't see myself using them that often. I would just hate that mode menu gets stuck one day after being, I don't know, I was shooting some food and I had some honey on my fingers and it slips through and it just ends up screwing up all the internals. I feel like this might be a point of failure in the future. It's under 5 pounds as a total unit, and yeah, it's a little bit bigger than the G300, the video that we put out a few months ago. But when you compare the ballast as well as the light, it's very comparable to this Neewer light in terms of size and power output. It is a little bit bigger, but it's also a lot lighter.
Heavy is reliable. If it doesn't work, you can always hit me with it.
One of the things that I think they clearly cut corners on is the power brick and the cable itself. The cable itself is very stiff and it's kind of hard to use. I know if there's any pro gaffers right now watching the B-roll, you'll cringe at my wrapping ability, and I apologize. But I think in general, I think the usability of this cable is a lot more difficult than some of my other lights, and it's a little bit shorter as well. But that's not a deal breaker necessarily, because this light itself has an additional feature. Now it comes with a XLR end, which is quite neat because it can lock into the light. So we know like that it won't yank itself out. And now what we can do is we take the other end of that and we can plug it into a D-tap battery. And now we can run our light off of a V-mount battery just like this. And I know that it's not the most revolutionary thing, but for a 300 watt light to run off of a single V-mount battery is very impressive. Now I know you can do it with some of the 60 watt Cobbs and some of the 120 watt lights and some of the smaller lights, but with a 300 watts to be able to power itself off of a battery, I think is a very, very valuable thing. The portability of a light like this under 5 pounds that can be battery powered, very easy to mount anywhere, and gives you maybe not the power of the sun, but it gives you quite a bit of juice in order to get the story done. I think a lot of the times we get too bogged down on, oh, what this feature is, oh, but this one got that feature, and if I spend an extra 300, then I can get this or that, the other. But the thing is, it's not like this won't work. It's not like the cheapest option won't always work. And sometimes having the thing is better than not having the thing and thinking about it. And, oh, well, I can't afford the $2,000 version thing, so I'm just not going to even attempt, because what's the point of having the $500 thing? It must be 4 times less good. I'm going to be 4 times less good if I show up with this thing. You know, like, who are you? Are you the gear or are you the photographer? So just put yourself in that mind space. If you can afford it, if this fits your budget, it's going to be good enough for you. Trust me. Especially if you work with photography, or if you're at this point where you're investing in these pretty bigger, substantial lights and equipment, you're probably at a point in your photography where it's like, yeah, okay, well now I can try to take it a little bit more seriously. I want a little bit more out of my production quality of what I'm offering to clients. Or if you're a YouTuber like I am, and if you're just creating stuff for the internet, you want it to look good, this is going to be more than what you need for what it is that you're looking for. What I think is so fascinating is that, like, this is the cheapest 300 watt light on the market, pretty much, and it's got the most features. Just like, I mean, any company that steals all the R&D from the big brands, I guess. But that doesn't mean that they're not still giving you what it is that you need, what it is that you're looking for at a better deal than some of those other bigger brands. Again, this goes into build quality and longevity of a product like this. Do I think that in 15 years it's going to have the same output as a Aputure 300D, let's say, or as an ARRI light, let's say, or as a Sky panel, let's say? Yeah, no, of course not. But it's not in the same budget. It's not in the same realm. I think that this is much better built, let's say, than the price range that it's offering itself at. It's trying to find a budget-friendly, consumer-friendly, prosumer type of photographer that wants all of the bells and whistles, all the good features, but doesn't have that crazy, limitless seeming budget that some of those big commercial photographers really have. Sometimes I watch like gaffer channels on YouTube, and I'm like so amazed at the amount of money that they have in like C-stands or combo stands that like outweighs my entire studio. And I'm like, it's insane to me when I look at some of these grip trucks and things like that, and I'm just amazed at the amount of money that you can throw into a long-term career. I tell you all the time that the story far outweighs the gear, and if this is what you can afford, I really don't think it's going to disappoint you. So if you're on the fence for an RGB light or an LED light, something like that, I don't think you're going to go wrong with the 300C. It's got more than enough juice for most situations, and the ability to be battery powered makes it able to bring out on location with you and not have to worry about generators or any kind of like 300-foot stingers to reach the closest wall. So let me know what you think. You can use my code down in the description. It does give me a little bit of a kickback, so I appreciate it if you do. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like on your way out, maybe subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you in a couple days. Later.